Hey folks, I wanted to do a video about this airplane carrier that I designed to go in the back of my Suburban, and it works really slick, folks. It helps me get to the field really easy, and I want to dive into why I did this and how I built it. Okay, it's really slick. So if you've been following me for a long time, you know who I am. If not, I'm Dag, that's my nickname, and I am obsessed with giant scale airplanes, but I also fly everything, okay? But when you go to build an airplane this big, it takes a lot to be able to get to the field. You know, I had to modify this tent as kind of a hangar when I go to fun flies. And just to be really transparent, it's kind of a pain in the butt if I just want to go and fly. You know, I've got my trailer, and it took me many years to get this trailer and save the money, and I love it. But to pull it full of my airplanes just to go fly for an hour is not realistic. Okay, so I wanted to come up with a way that I could literally in 10 minutes load all the planes into my Suburban in a secured manner where they're not going to be rolling around or breaking or getting beat up, and just go fly. And folks, it's weird because back in the day, you know, I had this big minivan and I could throw all my planes in there, go fly, come home, put them on the wall, and I was done. But as over the last 40 years, as I've kind of evolved in RC, I got into bigger and bigger planes, which I love. Don't get me wrong. But earlier this year, I had an accident with my big plane. So there's really no reason for me to pull my trailer around until I rebuild it. So I want to dive into how I built this thing and basically what materials I used. And it works so well, folks, that I actually surprised myself just how easy it works. So my favorite planes right now are my Flex Otter, my Flex Cessna 170, and my Avanti that I fiberglassed and painted and turned it into a complete Frankenstein plane. Also, folks, another thing that's really neat about this exercise is that I don't have to take my generator to the field with me anymore because I built this 100,000 milliamp power supply that runs my charger, and I can get about 17 charges out of these batteries before I got to recharge it. The cool thing is I charge that overnight and take it to the field. This way I'm not charging LiPos at home, where I don't like to charge LiPos. So digging into this, folks, I had a scrap piece of plywood laying around and measured the depth of my Suburban, how far and how deep in it goes, and started figuring out how I could elevate this also, because I wanted to be able to put my wing bags underneath this with the airplanes on top. So I had some 1x4s and basically decided I was going to screw and glue them onto it as rails that would be underneath, supporting the plywood. And I want to make sure I put handles in this. So here I used a can of spray paint, kind of as the jig to draw the cutouts for my handles. Because, folks, I'm a one-man band. I want to be able to get this in and out really easy by myself. I don't have like a crew or a posse that helps me. And here you can see where I glued the 1x4s onto the back, and the holes are cut out for the handles. I used some Rust-Oleum, got me a quart of Rust-Oleum metallic silver, and I rolled it onto this because I wanted to seal the wood. And if you spray it, folks, that Rust-Oleum metallic silver looks really good. It's an oil-based paint. And I just wanted to basically have something that wouldn't absorb moisture or would get wet or damp, and that's one reason I paint it. Now, one thing that bugs the crap out of me is how much airplanes want to move around when you got them in the back of your vehicle. So I 3D printed, I designed these little wheel holders or wheel chocks on Fusion 360, printed it with PLA because, it's not going to be in the sun and get that hot. I don't like to use PLA if anything's ever going to be in the sun because it gets soft. I use ABS, but I use PLA for this. And basically started trying to lay out how it would go onto the carrier. And this took me a while, folks, to really figure out how to ergonomically use the, square inches or the square feet to the best to get as much airplane as I could on there. So my whole goal here, folks, was to get my three favorite airplanes, which is my Flex Cessna 170, my Flex Otter, and my Frankenstein lead sled Avanti that I've modified, and make sure that I could get them in and out quickly. I do have some other airplanes, but these are really my three most favorite planes, just to throw planes in the back and go to the field for 2 or 3 hours and fly and then come home and unload it. But one of the challenges I've got on this was the elevation of the different aircraft. You know, like the Avanti's got to sit on some foam that you'll see here in a minute. And I really did tweak. I mean, this took me, honestly, I screwed around for a day to make sure I was going to get this right. Just because it was so important that my goal was to get all three planes in here. And I knew it would work, but they can't move around. They've got to be very, very secure. And here is how I basically secure the wheels so they won't move. I use this Velcro I got on Amazon, cut a slit in it, and I just bring it over, loop it through, and it holds that wheel down really, really tight. Again, this is something that took me a while to really make sure that, folks, one thing I don't like to do is have a really nice piece of plywood that I painted and end up with a bunch of holes in it I'm not going to use. I really hate that I drill a hole and it's in the wrong place. Now I got a hole in the wood. So for me, I just really super took my time to make sure that I got all of this laid out exactly how I want it. Now, you've noticed in this picture on the right-hand side, there's a little leg sticking down. On the left-hand side, there's a 3D printed leg. I did those specifically so I could control elevation. But here's me test fitting the Avanti in first. So basically when I go to load my Suburban, and ignore that wing bag up in the front there hanging, that was just to get something out of the way, and I was experimenting. But basically the Avanti goes in first. Then I put in the 170, and because of the side doors, folks, I can get to all of these Velcro points really super easy to strap things down. That was one of the things that in my mind when I was doing all of this in CAD was to make sure I could access everything. Then I throw in my Otter, and essentially, I'm ready to go. Now, depending on what I'm taking to the field, if I'm just going to take my wing bags, they'll slide in underneath this. But I'm going to take anything else, I actually have different size legs that will go on this, so I can actually raise this higher. And when you look down through there, that's a pretty nice cavity to store things. And the Flex wing, the Flex wing bags fit perfect under here. But these are the 3D printed legs I've made, so I can actually change the elevation of this up to about 6 inches. And on the left there is the standard leg. On the right is the leg with the little helper on it. So folks, basically that's it. This video was made just to let you know how I put together this carrier system for getting my airplanes to the field. So I don't have to take my generator. I don't have to take my trailer. I can just throw the planes in there and just go fly and have fun. And I missed that because folks, I got to the point that carrying these big airplanes around in my trailer was just, I wasn't getting to the field enough to fly. So rock on. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.